Hello, I'm Fred Walsh, President of Catonsville Community College, and I will be your host for today's teleconference, Early Cardiac Care. I commend you for your interest in learning more about the prevention of heart attacks, and I trust you will find this program both informative and helpful in implementing an early cardiac care program in your community. Every year, heart attacks kill 600,000 Americans, yet it is estimated that half of these deaths could be prevented by recognizing the early warning signs of impending heart attack and by taking swift, appropriate action. The purpose of this video conference is to teach the concept of early cardiac care, some basic anatomy and physiology, the psychodynamics of an individual's response to heart attack and early intervention, the community college role in early cardiac care, and the potential of early cardiac care in the eradication of heart disease. Our main presenter is Dr. Raymond Barr, Medical Director at the Paul Dudley White Coronary Care System at St.Agnes Hospital in Maryland, and instructor at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. With Dr. Barr are Jane Strong, RN, Co-Director, Coronary Outreach Program, St.Agnes Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. Dr. Jack Long, a psychotherapist and research associate in cardiac care at St.Agnes Hospital. And CM Sam Copeland, RN, Co-Director of Coronary Outreach Program at St.Agnes Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. Our format will include individual presentations and responses to questions. We hope the information which will be presented will help you save lives, your own as well as others.
Heart attack, the war at home. People in the United States easily become upset with the number of casualties that took place during the Gulf War, but seem to lose sight of the fact that 600,000 Americans die of heart attacks each year. Yet this war is winnable too. What we desperately need is to create an army of early cardiac caregivers. Since the heart attack problem seems to exist in the communities of the United States, it makes good sense for community colleges to play an active role in providing the education in communities needed to carry this out. Precisely what is early cardiac care? Simply put, cardiac care for heart attack can be divided into late cardiac care and early cardiac care. Late cardiac care deals with a cardiac arrest situation and the need for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It also deals with a patient who comes into the hospital crashing with damage taking place. Here, time is vital as the blockage within a coronary vessel is becoming complete. Clot dissolvers work best when given within the first hour. Unfortunately, this is almost impossible. Our present-day approach, although exciting, is not getting us any place. We are only spinning wheels. We are not getting to the heart of the problem. We need a new strategy, and that's where the community colleges can play a major role. We call the strategy the early cardiac care approach. Heart attacks just don't happen. They have beginnings. Heart attacks do not have to kill. They can be intercepted by early cardiac caregivers. Beginnings have to be recognized and acted upon. Presently, this is not the case. Let's look into why this takes place. Before patients present with cardiac arrest or severe chest pain, 60% have milder symptoms that go unrecognized. These symptoms may occur for hours to days prior to the crashes. There exists a widespread unawareness in the United States for such early symptoms. Furthermore, there is even more unawareness why such symptoms are often put on the back burner as delay in time is allowed to take place. The answer to this lies in how we Americans are brought up. Our lives are too busy. We are programmed incorrectly. We are taught early to toughen it, not to complain. So we enter the cardiac system when the elephant is sitting on our chest or we're having a cardiac arrest. Community colleges can play a major role in this effort by setting up programs of awareness that help educate the community and attempt to change the self-destructive behavior. In most cases, there are windows of opportunity where intervention can take place. This can occur with the individuals who recognize and respond as early cardiac caregivers. Why is this intervention so difficult to take place? In most cases, the first responder acts to enable the denial mechanism of the patient, whereas in cardiac arrest and severe chest pain situations, the first responder knows what to do and is driven by peer pressure to do it. Not so in the early cardiac care situation. There's no known formula. The first responder has to do it on his own. From within, he has to take the needed amount of time necessary to overcome the resistance of the patient. This Good Samaritan or buddy system is what is needed if we are ever to reduce heart attack deaths from being the #1 killer of the adult population in the United States. This program is called the Early Cardiac Caregiver Program and is best taught in the community colleges. An army of such early cardiac caregivers can allow us to win this war as well. Now let's watch a short video and see the unfolding of these early cardiac symptoms that allow for intervention. Watch and you will be able to, 1, see the problem unfolding, and 2, see windows of opportunity to intervene. Think about how feasibility to teach these concepts with community college programs, training high school instructors to transmit this simple message at the high school level, thereby penetrating communities with this message and provide the necessary link to community hospitals allowing this to take place. This basic program will help to expose, to unfold, and to unravel the mystery of why heart attack deaths are so common and yet so preventable. We desperately need awareness programs that provide behavioral changes in the communities in the United States, preventing these deaths from taking place. Now listen to your heart talk as you watch this video and see if it's giving you, the viewers, a message. You had some chest discomfort?
Yes.
This time?
Yes, I did.
The last time you had chest discomfort, was this similar type of chest pain and the like?
Yes, the pain was exactly the same.
Uh-huh. Okay. Can you describe that pain last time you had?
It's a fullness right in the center, and it spread to my back and my right shoulder.
Okay. Last time you had it, how long did you have it?
Approximately half an hour.
Half an hour. Were you home with her at that time, Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Did she complain to you at that time?
When the first time. Yes. When the pain got.
How did she look to you at that time?
She looked weak.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know whether she could even stand.
Mm-hmm. Was she sweating or short of breath or just discomfort?
She was just within discomfort.
Mostly discomfort and things like that. So you spent how long at home at that time?
I guess it was about 20 minutes after I started to feel bad.
Mm-hmm. And then what made you decide to come in at that time?
She wasn't getting any better. She was getting worse.
So you continued with the discomfort and it didn't go away.
And the first time I actually passed out.
You passed out too?
Yes.
At home?
Yes, at home.
Okay. Did the ambulance, paramedics come?
Yes, they did.
Okay, fine. Did you wake up by that time?
Yes.
Okay. So paramedics brought you immediately to the hospital.
No, they didn't.
No?
They did not.
What happened at that time?
They dismissed it. They said they couldn't explain what it was, but I was okay. I woke up and everything was fine.
And were you having discomfort when the paramedics came there at the time?
I passed out. I was actually out cold when they arrived.
But they took a history then that you were having discomfort and the.
No, he did not. He asked what was wrong.
Uh-huh.
I described it the best I could, and after I described it, he walked around and he said, "Well, maybe she seems to be paranoid, because he said I don't see anything really wrong."
Mm-hmm. Did you talk to him because you were too ill, or you were just waking up?
I was just waking up.
You were waking up?
Yes.
Uh-huh. But the discomfort, did it come back at that time?
Yes, yes.
But they
It was
didn't
very
think...
much still there. And I was weak, and the sweating was still there, and the nausea was still there.
Were there two paramedics, and
Two.
both of them concurred that that you looked well enough that you were not having a real problem?
Right.
That you knew enough, and then you got your son, and he brought you directly to the hospital. And,
Yeah, after they wasn't doing anything. I found out they wasn't going to do anything, and something had to be done.
So you took the bull by the horns and
Right.
came here directly. Very good. Now that was last time, and you were helped because you had the drug that dissolved the clot. We found out that your vessels were not that bad, that a lot of your problem was clot formation.
Right.
And I've been following you since that time, and you've been doing fairly well.
Fairly well, up
Back-
until now.
Back to work, a little
Full
stress
time.
with the jobs and things like that, but that's the you know, I know you've been with your job, you've been under some degree of distress
Right.
or something like that, but no more than most people, I would think. And you've reduced your risk factors. You no longer smoke, is
No.
that right?
Not at all.
So you've been trying to stay in good health?
Exercise.
Now tell me about this episode now. What time did this new episode start?
This new episode started about 12:30 at night. I was sleeping, and it woke me from my sleep.
So it's been about 3 years,
Yes,
and you've had no discomfort at all,
Nothing
and
at all.
abruptly, 12:30 at night, you had this discomfort.
right.
And what did you do this time?
I immediately got up and took nitroglycerin, and this is the first time I've ever had to use it in the 3 years. Nothing happened. The pain was the same. I took another one, and it still didn't go away. At that point, I woke my mother, and we came immediately to the hospital.
Who made the decision? Did you make the decision, or did she make
I
it?
did.
Huh?
I did.
Were you
I
trying to find reason not to come?
No, no.
So you were
Well, she
willing this
was
time to
agreeable.
come.
She agreed.
She agreed this
Yes.
time. And why did you agree this time to come on?
Because I knew how important it is to
Good.
come early.
Good. You want to tell me more about that?
Well, after the first heart attack, I watched the video that you made about early symptoms and what to look for, and if you have problems, what to do. And I remembered that you take your nitroglycerin, and if it doesn't change, immediately seek help. So that's what I did.
Very good. Did you have much other discomfort, other symptoms at this time, or just most the pain and the?
The pain and the sweating.
Right, so you got here within a half an hour, I think, this time. Very good.
They had given me some other things when I first arrived, but nothing seemed to help. And when you gave the order for the clot dissolving medicine, almost immediately the pain started to subside.
Very good. So you think you were helped this time because you came in early, because you knew that it was important to come in early, and the first time around, even though you had a lot of discomfort and even passed out, you were not believed.
Not at all.
Well, see, she was a woman. If she had been a man right away, it wouldn't have been no problem. Only men get heart attacks. Women do not have heart attacks. Everything you hear about heart attacks is men. Women also have them. I do know that. God knows I'm living proof of it.
But you actually have come to that belief that the world doesn't believe that women have heart attacks.
No, but if she had been a man, if it had been my grandson, yeah, they would have took his word for it.
Have you seen this before, or you know? And
I've seen it before. I've actually had two friends who have gone to the emergency room with problems, and they didn't know exactly what it was, but they were diagnosed as having heartburn or indigestion, sent home, and one of them actually died.
So you knew some of that ahead of time, and you acted on that information. And you think you two are a good combination together? Or you think two better than one? You help each other out in your thinking?
As
It
far
goes
as,
to that, yes.
In terms of the first time around,
Yes.
it sounds like Mom was, you were just recovering. I mean, you were just
Yes,
waking up, things
yes.
like. But the second time around, you were.
I knew
you
exactly what was going on.
and you knew that you wanted to come early.
Right.
And maybe you got a little help from her, but you were.
We were both ready at the
you're
same
very
time.
right. Yeah, I think so. Very good. Well, there's no question that this time around you've been, helped a lot. We'll find out tomorrow when we do the catheterization what was in the midst of taking place.
Okay.
But so far, the amount of damage is minimal. We may not know what abruptly causes all heart attacks, but what's so important is when it does occur that you act quickly, because then you can intervene to prevent death and damage. And you certainly, with damage, have had minimal damage on this admission. So very good.
Great.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Hello. I'm going to give you the outline for the Community College Instructor's Course. Today, the course we are presenting to you is a condensed version of the program in order to accommodate our time frame. The Instructor's Course is usually a 5-hour course. Before I give you the outline of the Community College Instructor's Course, I would like to identify the difference between the Provider's Early Cardiac Care Course and the Instructor's Early Cardiac Care Course. The Provider's Course is designed for the general public, cardiac patients, their families, and others within the community who wish to become early cardiac caregivers. The instructor model is a more detailed presentation for those who will teach early cardiac care to others. This course may be also used as a basic platform for teaching early cardiac care to paramedics and emergency medical personnel. Now the outline for the instructor's course. There are 5 parts. Part 1. This part is an introduction to the concept of early cardiac care. This is what you heard briefly summarized from Dr. Barr. It is essential that the instructor have a firm understanding of this concept. After a thorough introduction, you move to Part 2. Part 2. This part deals with the anatomy and physiology applicable to early cardiac care. I would like to elaborate on this aspect. It is vital to understand this for early cardiac care. Our instructor begins with a review of the anatomy and physiology of the heart. The heart is a muscle the size of a fist located in the middle of the chest, weighing 7 to 12 ounces. It operates as a pump and pumps gallons of blood daily to all cells in the body. The heart muscle has its own circulation system, which is the coronary arteries. These are about 1/8 inch in diameter and are located on the outside of the heart muscle. The blood and oxygen flow through these to give the heart muscle adequate fuel. Cholesterol forms fatty deposits called plaque on the interior of the coronary arteries. This plaque in turn narrows the channel through which blood and oxygen reach the heart muscle. This is called atherosclerosis. This process takes 30 to 40 years to form inside an artery, during which time there are no symptoms. When a tear of the plaque occurs, platelets form at this site, causing a clot. This results in blockage and leads to chest discomfort. These are the earliest symptoms of a heart attack, mild chest discomfort. If this condition is not treated, blockage progresses until the artery is totally blocked, which leads to damage of the heart muscle or a heart attack. This is what we wanted to prevent. It is advantageous if the early cardiac care instructor is able to visualize this process of coronary artery obstruction. This visualization will enable them to teach the concept easier. Along with the anatomy and physiology, the student also needs to be taught the value of proper history taking. This is the first step in recognizing and responding to early cardiac symptoms. Let me share with you the questions to ask when taking a history for chest discomfort. When does it occur? Heart discomfort occurs with exertion or excitement. Ask the person which activity brings on the discomfort. Location. Where is the discomfort? Heart discomfort is central chest discomfort. Radiation. Does the discomfort radiate? Heart discomfort radiates to one or both arms, usually inner aspect, and also radiates to the neck, jaw, and back. Type. What type of discomfort is it? Heart discomfort is pressure, squeezing, aching discomfort, as opposed to sharp, stabbing pain. Duration. How long does the discomfort last? Is it fleeting or does it last several minutes? Heart discomfort usually lasts several minutes or longer. Frequency. How frequent does a discomfort occur? Heart discomfort reoccurs frequently, especially with activity. And finally, is the discomfort relieved by rest? Heart discomfort is usually relieved by rest. When you rest, you reduce the demand of the heart. It is our belief that proper history taking can be taken by an early cardiac caregiver if he has been properly trained. With proper history taking, the early cardiac caregiver can help make a decision as to the course of early action to be taken. Part 3 of the course is the third part of the program, deals with the psychological factors associated with early cardiac care. It is essential that instructors understand the psychological factors in order to help teach students proper intervention. Jack Long, our next presenter, will cover this in detail. Part 4 of the program is the presentation of the Early Cardiac Care Providers course. We will present this for you a little later in the teleconference. Remember, this is a course as you, the instructor, will be teaching. The fifth and final part is the certification of the instructors. Prior to receiving their certification, the students are divided into small groups. Each member of the group is given a specific question that was covered during the course that we think is essential to being an early cardiac caregiver. We also have group members role play being an early cardiac caregiver and a potential heart attack victim using knowledge they have obtained from class. This enables the group to critique the techniques and to raise questions. I would like to summarize the outline of the instructor's course. 1. Introduction to early cardiac care concept. 2. Anatomy and physiology of the heart as applicable to early cardiac care. 3. Identification of psychological aspects associated with early cardiac care. 4. The presentation of the providers course. And 5. The certification of the instructors. We have taught the instructors course at Catonsville Community College several times. As a result, this model is being taught at the Baltimore City Police and Fire Academies and to the paramedics. This model was also used in Howard County, Maryland, when they included the Early Cardiac Care Program into their educational curriculum for 1991. As a result, all 7th graders in Howard County are being taught this course as part of their health education. We expect other counties to follow suit, which will in turn increase the demand for the instructor's course. Remember, early cardiac care has no definite formula. It requires not only proper education, but thinking and creativity. Our goal is to topple heart disease as the #1 killer of the adult Americans. We believe community college-based programs such as this will help us reach our goal.
Hello. I'm going to talk a little bit about the psychological issues that we address in the early cardiac care program. First, I'd like to reiterate some of the information about where the early cardiac care program fits into the scheme of things in the battle against heart disease. Now, the media has made us aware of many of the risk factors that affect heart disease: cigarette smoking, cholesterol, triglycerides, stress, aerobic exercises have all shown themselves to be culpable with regard to heart disease. And we've seen the effect in the marketplace. We even had lettuce cigarettes for a while. Virtually every package has low fat, no fat, or cholesterol free on it. There's wheat bran, oat bran, even fish oil pills, and all of them are geared to help our hearts. Now, the marketplace motives are economic, but one of the things that has happened is that we've all become more aware of the issues that affect our hearts. And because of this, the implication is that if we're aware of the risk factors and if we do something about them, then we may be safe from heart disease. But unfortunately, what probably is coming about is we're fostering a state of denial, because certainly there is no guarantee based on these factors. Now, the community colleges have led the way along with hospitals in pre-care or prevention programs. They've had programs of cholesterol screening, blood pressure screening, wellness programs, aerobic exercise programs. And they've all been geared toward protection or prevention. At the other end of the continuum, the PACE programs, the prescribed active cardiac exercise programs, have dealt with aftercare and people that have already had some kind of a cardiac event. Now, the community colleges and, again, hospitals have been active in these kinds of programs as well. They provided input at both ends, pre-care and aftercare, and now we're talking about some other area, and that's called early cardiac care in between that. Now, early cardiac care is really the time between the onset of symptoms and getting the person in the delivery system to some kind of a treatment facility. Jane talked about the symptoms and what to look for. And that really should be the end of the story, and that should be enough. But we know that if you're sneezing and if you have a fever and your nose is running, you probably have a cold. The symptoms are very clear. So in a week or 7 days, if we go to a doctor, we improve. Unfortunately, with stuttering chest pain, it's not clear whether the discomfort is coming from the GI system. Is it indigestion? Maybe it's nerves, the famous nerves. Or do I have a pulled muscle in my chest? And we've heard all of those kinds of issues with regard to the stuttering chest pain. We're talking about incapacitating chest pain, the elephant on the chest that Dr. Barr mentioned. We're talking about a discomfort that can really easily be denied. Now, in the early cardiac care program for instructors, we spend a great deal of time talking about the issue of resistance. And our goals are to help the early cardiac caregiver recognize the resistance as a critical issue. Without resistance, we basically say the problem in your chest or the discomfort you're having may be your heart, you should get to a treatment facility. And when we do that, the person responds with, that's a great idea, and they're off to a treatment facility. It's very easy. But unfortunately, the person experiencing discomfort in the form of stuttering pain, notice I don't say victim, because the person really hasn't become a victim yet. They only become a victim if they deny the stuttering pain, if they show resistance to getting some kind of a treatment. But that person often acts daffy. In fact, we use the acronym DAFFY to explain this to our classes. DAFFY stands for denial. That means this isn't happening to me. It's got to be happening to somebody else. It's too inconvenient. It's too big of a problem in my life. Anger. Don't tell me what to do. Don't boss me around. I'm mad that this is happening to me, if it really indeed is. And it's a great leveler. If we express anger at someone, it's a good way to get them off of your back. So the early cardiac caregiver just may encounter anger. Fear. Oh my God, I don't want this to be true. People become blind and deaf to new input. They, in fact, become frozen, have difficulty thinking and concentrating. Embarrassment. I'd be mortified to be taken in the hospital on my back. If something's not wrong with me, then I can't face anyone. If something is wrong with me, then I'm not whole anymore. There's really no way to win from the embarrassment. DAFFY, denial, anger, fear, embarrassment. Each of them interfere either individually or in conjunction with each other in the early cardiac caregiver actually getting someone to a treatment facility. And our goal is to help the caregiver recognize the resistance that they may encounter and also to negotiate it. Now, because of the variability and lability of emotions that we might encounter, we've avoided formulas and interventions, and you've heard twice now that we want to stay away from the idea of formula. In fact, we don't know a formula for doing this, and we really want to foster creative thinking on the part of the persons who are participating. CPR or late cardiac care does lend itself to a formula because basically the person isn't interactive. He's not in a thinking mode with you, and we're just, in fact, performing certain tasks to resuscitate the individual. Now, in our instructors program, we use a model. It's a developmental model based on Erik Erikson's work, and it addresses the issue of resistance. For example, a common issue that we might encounter as an early cardiac caregiver is the person we call macho man or sacrificing woman, being the female counterpart to that. This person's often high profile, a lot of drive, very competitive, maybe a little more prone to anger than some others, used to being in control of the situation, very much aligned with their job or their role in their lives, very much the typical type A person. Now, the early cardiac caregiver, a logical formula that we might tell someone is if you meet with resistance, tell the person simply, this is your life at stake here. Now, if the early cardiac caregiver tells someone who is locked into the role that this is their life that we're considering here, their role is their life. And as strange as it may sound, year after year, we encounter people who would rather take the risk of their life than to take the risk of losing their role. So that's just one example of why we really stay away from using formulas. In fact, if a caregiver attempts to force someone who is so macho man and inclined to their role, they often meet with anger. And again, anger is a great leveler. And once we receive the anger, then we either act with anger back, and then we get the emphasis off of early cardiac care and dealing with the anger. So we present various scenarios to the instructors in the program, and we want to familiarize each of them with things that they might encounter as an early cardiac caregiver. As I said, we need to think differently about early cardiac care. We want to encourage them to think differently and, most importantly, to act differently. And we have another acronym for acting differently, and that's to act wisely. Acknowledge. We want to acknowledge to ourselves and to the person experiencing chest discomfort that there is a potential problem. The information that Jane gave you is important information for that part of this procedure. We want to foster denial. We must acknowledge that there's a problem. Calm. Our behavior sets the pace for the person with discomfort. If we're off the wall, they're off the wall. We usually show a tape of different interactions, and we get the class to critique them during our program, and one of the scenes shows an early cardiac caregiver being off the wall anxious. Calm leads to calm, anxiousness leads to anxious. Tenacious. As early cardiac caregivers, we need to stick to the task. And remember that the task is to get the individual to a treatment facility. Don't divert onto side issues, but to get the person to a treatment facility. The task that we hold out for community college is to disseminate information and hopefully to put together programs. Willful. Once we've made up our mind that this is an important issue, that the commitment that this person needs attention, as an early cardiac caregiver, we don't want people talking themselves out of getting the job done. If we make an error, we want to make the error on the side of going to the facility rather than on the side of not going. But I'll come back to this point in a minute because I want to say something more about it. Influential. We spend time in the instructor's course helping individuals to modify and to polish their own creative styles. Very important to us, in fact, in Dr. Barr's whole concept of early cardiac care is creative input. Again, no formula, but a model. Simple. We don't want to belabor information about cardiovascular physiology. In fact, one of the skits that we do that we've taped is a somewhat humorous attempt to get a person to the hospital by trying to impress her with how much knowledge that the caregiver has, and it's kind of confusing for her. We're looking at simple and direct ways to intervene and simple and direct ways to implement cardiac care programs. Empathic. Empathic understanding and willful tenacity to the task are most likely to circumvent resistance. If we want someone to cross the road, to go get them, lead them across. Okay? Link. As early cardiac caregivers, we need to make a link with the person experiencing potential cardiac discomfort. Before we can be influential and get the message across, we must form a link to the individual. Just as we have a satellite link here with you, and just as we hope that you will link between the community and the hospitals. Yes. Just plain old yes. Our goal as early cardiac caregivers is to get the individual to say, yes, I will go to the hospital. Act wisely. Now, we use the acronyms as learning tools. Sometimes we use role play, tapes, and frankly, sometimes we use whatever comes to mind at the time. We encourage interaction and involvement on the part of the participant in the program. We need to be flexible, and we want them to be flexible. Just give an example of that. There was one lady in one of the programs we had earlier who was really concerned about her father and believing that she would never be able to get him to the hospital, and she asked, how would I do that? I took a trash can and balled up a little ball of paper, and I gave it to her and I asked her to make a basket. She took a shot at it, and I moved the basket, and she missed. She got up, put the paper in her hand again, took another shot, and missed again. Finally, she picked it up and went over and just shoved it into the basket. Well, that's what we wanted her to do. We wanted her to be creative. We wanted her to use her own resources, and that's what we encourage in the program. Now, I said I wanted to come back to the idea of being willful. And there's an exercise that we do, and what we do is to take a pencil, and we set it on the table in front of someone and ask them to take responsibility for picking it up. Invariably they do, and they pick it up, and we say, do you have any problem with that? And they say, no, it was easy. Then we ask them to take responsibility to get us to pick it up. And they'll usually take that responsibility, and they'll ask us, and we'll say no. Then they'll say, please pick it up, and we'll say no, and they'll insist. Sometimes they'll show anger, sometimes they'll beg. Various strategies, but we just continually say no. Because what we want to do is to emphasize that the caregiver act wisely, but it's also important to let them know that they have a limit to their ability to get someone to the hospital. We want them to create, as Dr. Barr said, a window of opportunity for them to do that. We want to create a reasonable opportunity for them to do that and teach them how to best create that opportunity. But ultimately, the choice lies in the person who's experiencing the discomfort. In fact, it may be the time, and we've had this question before, to call 911, and certainly that comes up. We'll have a lot of ideas and not much time left to share them with you. We think the early cardiac care program is a critical part of the war or the battle with heart disease. We believe that the community-based programs at community colleges and indeed public and private schools are the appropriate link between the individual and the community and to the hospital. Now, we don't want individuals to become victims. We don't want the community to be full of victims. Instead, them to be full of early cardiac caregivers. You have the facilities and capabilities to get the word out. Prevention programs, aftercare programs, and now early cardiac care programs are still another piece in the puzzle in moving heart disease out of the #1 place as a cause of premature death in the United States. Thank you for your attention, and now Sam will talk about the Providers Course.
Now that you have some idea of the concepts of early cardiac care versus late cardiac care, this is the part of the program that we're going to take you step by step through the course that you as early cardiac care giver instructors are going to present. The course that you're going to present to your groups, to classes, to clubs, to the world at large will probably run anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes, depending on your time commitment. Your class may be 300 or 300 people from various areas in life. It fits very well into community college courses and classes because it can be included in your health courses, your phys ed courses, it can be added to CPR, it can go in your wellness, your cardiac rehab, your aerobic courses. It virtually fits into almost any course that you want to give. It can also be included in business and industry, in schools, in most any walks of life where people are having heart attacks and early symptoms. The list to teach is just endless. How you wish to present the introduction to early cardiac care is totally up to you. You may want to talk them through the very early warning signs, discomfort that comes on with activity and goes away with rest. Or you may want to present the 3 different presentations of an impending heart attack. Or you may choose to show slides, posters, role play, overhead, whatever is your style in teaching, as long as you get across what early cardiac care is. You may show a poster that says, "You're here to stop heart damage," or you may share that you are here to deputize them. Here is our early cardiac caregiver deputizing his friends, as I will do for you a little later. The more you show your students, the more they will remember. After you have finished your introduction, there are 5 steps that you need to go through to complete the program. The first step is watch the video. The tape that will be available to you is about 20 minutes long, or you may use your own slides. The second step is to learn the early warning signs. These can be reviewed with your audience from the video. You can use a short period of questions and answers just to make sure the concept is clear to your students. Thirdly is to take the quiz. And we'll take this quiz a little bit later in the presentation. It's 3 questions only. Believe me, no one ever fails this quiz. Fourth is to take the caregiver's oath, as we will also do together. Fifthly, you will become deputized, and you will be given either an early cardiac care deputy button or a pin or a certificate, whatever it is your style with your group. And you would like, or I would like, for you to wear that pin or button or certificate or sticker everywhere. Then people will come up to you and say, "What's that little button you have on?" And you will reply, "Well, I'm an early cardiac caregiver. Let me tell you about the early warning signs of a heart attack. Let me tell you how you can prevent having one and help others." That's part of the program. The behavior modification part of the program is taking a pledge, acting on it, and spreading the word. Now is the time in our program for you to watch our video. I introduced the film differently according to what group I'm teaching. If it's a class of senior citizens, I usually explain to them that the opening is a casket scene, because it is. Therefore, I won't take them by so much surprise. In other groups, if you want to see the impact, don't tell them anything and watch the response. Now we'll watch the film.
It didn't have to be this way. If only I had listened to what my body was telling me. The early chest discomfort I was experiencing could have been checked out, but denial and delay put me here. The warning signs were there. I just didn't take the time to act on them. A heart attack didn't have to kill me.
For more than 20 years, Dr. Raymond Barr has devoted his career to help reduce heart attacks as the #1 killer of adults in the United States. Dr. Barr maintains that early chest discomfort must be added to the list of risk factors leading to a heart attack, and that chest discomfort should be checked out early. As director of the Paul Dudley White Coronary Care Unit at St.Agnes Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, Dr. Barr and a specially trained team of doctors and nurses are bringing this life-saving message to the community.
What are the 3 presentations of a heart attack?
First is the one that stops you dead in your tracks. Sudden death. You have no chance whatsoever. The second is the one in which you're actually having the damage itself. You have about 6 hours to get into the hospital in order to get minimal help. The third, and perhaps the most important one, is the one in which you're just starting to have symptoms. A lot of times you deny it because it's not severe. Usually it's minimal. Mild chest pressure, indigestion, heartburn, but not enough to seek out attention. What happens is you practice denial during this period of time. And the first person upon the scene also contributes more to the denial process than trying to help you out. But here it's important to realize that all your muscle is intact. You haven't had sudden death yet. You haven't had the damage yet. Here's the most important stage to come in when you're having a heart attack.
To fully appreciate chest pain as a risk factor, you should understand exactly what causes a heart attack. Your heart is a great pump with tremendous reserve capacity. It is a muscle pump, and as such needs a constant supply of nutrient-rich blood to survive. 3 major blood vessels supply the heart with blood. Arteriosclerosis, or hardening of the vessels, is the primary cause of heart attacks. Over a period of many years, our lifestyle allows the risk factors such as hypertension, cholesterol, and cigarette smoking to incubate, leading to a 90 to 95% cholesterol plaque to form. When this plaque finally ruptures, a clot and spasm will close the vessel, cutting off blood supply to the heart. The area of the heart muscle that has been denied blood will die. This will either kill us or we live with less of a pump and become less of a person. In this setting, the victim is said to have suffered a massive heart attack.
Donald, you called me yesterday about this. I told you had to have it done on the 19th of this month. That's the day I want it. I want it done on the 19th of this month.
Here, the first responder knew to perform CPR and did so in the midst of panic and peer pressure. In this setting, a heart attack situation is easily recognizable, but damage to the heart muscle is already done. There is little hope that the person will recover.
The second form of a heart attack involves the patient whose coronary vessel is almost totally blocked.
Yes, I told you what I meant on this contract. I told you about the real estate deal. I don't want the warehouse no more, Mr. Lewis. I need help. I do need help.
Hang in there, call an ambulance.
The patient is usually weak, short of breath, nauseated, in severe pain. Symptoms are not easy to deny. Chest pain is severe. The patient feels as if an elephant is sitting on his or her chest. The heart attack can be described as one in progress. For the victim, as well as those coming to his aid, there is little doubt that the person needs immediate medical attention. This is known as the minimum deniability stage because of the overwhelming voice-like pain and other symptoms. Although the first responders knew what to do, the victim was taken to the hospital in a relatively short period of time. It is too late to prevent the heart attack and permanent damage to the heart muscle. For the patient that survives, recovery will be a long, slow process. In many cases, the patient will be confined to a limited existence. More than 1.5 million people per year, or 40% of all those suffering from coronary artery disease with chest pain, will experience the scenario just witnessed. It doesn't have to be that way.
How does an individual recognize the early warning signs of a heart attack?
What's important to realize is anytime something is occurring in the middle of the chest, we call it central chest discomfort, and keeps reoccurring, get it checked out. Get it checked out, because it may be the beginning stage of a heart attack. So central chest discomfort, whether it's described as pressure, indigestion, or heartburn. If you wait until it's severe pain, you may have waited too long.
The key to heart attack prevention is to reduce the leading risk factors. Again, they are hypertension, cigarette smoking, and elevated cholesterol. And there is one other significant factor that must be added to the list: chest pain. Chest pain is usually considered the first sign of a heart attack and can occur hours, days, sometimes weeks before the coronary artery closes. No longer can we pass off chest discomfort or pain as indigestion. We must develop a keen understanding of the significance of mild chest pain and life situations that contribute to the denial and delay that take place both by the potential heart attack victim and the people around him or her. Sometime before a diseased coronary artery chokes off the blood supply to the heart, a patient will experience mild chest discomfort. The patient is beginning to have a heart attack. The actual life-threatening event may not occur until days later. However, if these early warning signs are ignored, the crash leading to the destruction of the heart muscle will take place. Although Jim is in the beginning stages of a heart attack, damage to his heart muscle has not yet occurred. However, the imminent danger that looms over Jim is not easily recognizable in an everyday situation, partially because Jim is denying what his body is telling him, and partly because the people in Jim's life have not taken the time to listen to his concerns.
Yeah. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I feel fine. Why? What's wrong? Something wrong?
I'm just not feeling too good. It must have been something I ate. I have indigestion. I just don't feel so well.
Well, it's probably just something you ate. Don't worry about it. Let's get this done.
No. It's just not right. I think I ought to have this checked out.
All right, well, as soon as we're done with this, call your doctor, make an appointment, and have it checked out next week.
I guess you're right, but I've been working too hard. But I have to pick Mr. Tuttle up at the airport.
All right, well, I have some antacids. Do you want a couple of them?
I guess you're right.
Let me have that report.
I've been working too hard lately, and maybe I just eat too fast.
All right, let me have that report, and then I'll go get you a couple of antacids, and let's get this done.
Unless Jim seeks medical attention soon, he could die of a heart attack. Because most people don't want to think the worst, many patients will deny the problem. This will worsen the attack. 85% of heart muscle damage takes place within the first 2 hours of a heart attack.
I'm telling you, Jane, I don't think we're going to get this report out on time. I have to pick Mr. Tuttle up at the airport in 2 hours.
We have to work faster then. We have to get this out.
Yeah.
We have to get this out.
Are you feeling okay?
I feel fine. Why? What's wrong?
It must be indigestion. I have this mild discomfort.
It could be indigestion. It could also be coming from your heart. I think it'd be a good idea to have it checked out.
No, it's just a mild chest discomfort that's been coming on for the last 2 hours.
No. I think it's better to be safe than sorry. Let's have it checked out.
But I have to pick Mr. Tuttle up at the airport.
Bill can pick up Mr. Tuttle. I insist on taking you. You'll be in my car. No one will know. Let's take you over. Anyway, get in my car. I'll drive. I'll take you to the hospital. Let's have it checked out.
In this heart attack situation, community members or the people closest to the victim have taken action. The emphasis on chest pain intervention may help reduce the time period between meaningful chest pain and the life-saving treatment. The quicker the pain is diagnosed and treated, the better the chances to preserve heart muscle. Jim's co-workers knew that the key to catching a heart attack before it becomes one is by tracking down the cause of chest pain. They become involved. They become early cardiac caregivers. Through their urging as peers, Jim will be examined by his doctor. If Jim's chest pains indicate the early stages of a heart attack, he will receive the proper drugs and treatment in plenty of time to save his heart muscle and his life. As an early cardiac caregiver, you should know that early chest discomfort, not described as pain, but a mild pressure, an ache, a burning discomfort, mild indigestion, can be the preamble to a heart attack. Recognizing the victim experiencing the early stages of a heart attack is difficult. Look for these signs. Mild symptoms. Person looks normal, not gravely ill. They are conscious. There is a business-as-usual attitude about them, and they will argue to continue it. The person may say they've never been sick, and they feel fine otherwise. The victim will display a stubborn or macho man attitude, and they may worry what others will think. If you're going to help save that person's heart muscle, and possibly his life, you need a strategy to overcome his or her natural tendency to resist. Assure the victim that it is better to be safe than sorry. Offer to go with the patient. Use a private car rather than an ambulance. It's less embarrassing. Dispel anxiety over spouse and loved ones. You'll contact them for the patient. Take charge. Enlist the help of significant others. Get personal. Sit and talk with the patient. Don't go away. Persist. send someone to call 911 or the patient's doctor. To delay at this crucial stage is the primary reason why the heart attack problem is the #1 killer of adults in the United States.
Illness. We just talked about 3 presentations. The one that stops you dead in your track, the one in which you're having severe crushing pain, and the one in which you're having minimal symptoms. The question is how to get patients to come in when they're having minimal symptoms, how to clue in on this. It's like in basketball, the percentage shot versus the force shot. The force shot is when you're coming in too late. Percentage shot, you have the best chance of either scoring or perhaps walking away with your heart muscle itself. The secret here is to identify chest pain as the real risk factor for the acute event. Not all hospitals, not all emergency rooms are created equal. True, most people in medicine today know about heart attacks and trying to see the patient early enough in order to give him the drugs that dissolve clots and things like that. So there is a tendency on the part of hospitals and emergency rooms to give prioritized care to the patient with the heart attack itself. But perhaps what's needed more than anything else is more of a high visibility effort within hospitals, because this is the #1 health problem in the United States. Give more visibility in that emergency room to the heart attack patient, but also to the chest pain or the chest discomfort patient. So when patients like that are coming in, enough importance is paid by the hospital to check them out. Now, hospitals will vary with this approach, but I think as we, in due time, I think most hospitals will come to the realization that this is what needs to be done if the community is being encouraged to come in early. So that link up between early cardiac care and an enhancement of patients in the community to come in early, that link up multiplied times 6,700 hospitals in the United States is what needed in order to reduce heart disease from being #1.
If we as a community are going to save lives from heart attacks, we must replace the big D's, denial and delay, with the big R's, recognizing and responding. Heart attacks do not have to kill. Heart attacks do not have to damage heart muscle. In most cases, heart attacks can be managed very effectively if proper steps are undertaken. Proper diet, exercise, reducing stress and smoking, and recognizing that early chest discomfort is a risk factor that should be checked out early. We can make a difference by recognizing early chest discomfort as a risk factor for your health, for your heart. Become an early cardiac caregiver.
This is the video that we use in our course. I think it covers the material adequately. You will receive this video as well as the second film that is called Time is Muscle in the kit that you order. You may use either one with your classes, or you may feel free to make your own slide presentation or cards, whatever you're comfortable with. You as the educators have a lot more experience than we. We're just here to give you the seeds for thought. How you disperse those seeds is totally up to you, as long as the content of being an early cardiac caregiver is covered. I like to use the film because it summarizes and recognizes the early warning signs the same way every time it's shown. Nothing is left out. Every time I teach the course, I sort of add something here or subtract something there from the content. Using the video covers my human error. It's a good review, and we learn by repetition. At this point in the course, I usually say, I would like you to take out your folder because it's time to do step 3 and take your quiz. And then I will hold up the folder very briefly to let you know that you may give out a folder containing anything that you choose, any materials that you choose to hand out to your individual group. Our folder has the 5 steps that you need to go through to take the Early Cardiac Care Giver course. It also has a button in it, such as I'm wearing, which is our Sheriff's Badge or Early Cardiac Care Giver badge. That is in the kit. Again, you may change some of these steps. You may change, watch the video, to look at the overhead or watch the slide presentation, whatever your style is. You may use any kind of pin, button, sticker, label, certificate, card for your wallet, whatever, again, fits your group. Some of the other handouts in the folder, one of them is our sheriff here. Our sheriff says he wants you to become a deputy in early cardiac care. This idea of deputizing comes from the Old West. Remember in all the old movies in the West, when there was a crisis in the county or in the town, the sheriff would deputize the townspeople to help them with the crisis. Well, we believe death from heart disease and heart attack is a national crisis, and we would like to deputize an army of early cardiac caregivers to help us with that crisis. Another of the handouts that we have is this cliff scene. The cliff scene shows the very early warning signs way back here on the road where the road is wide and far from the edge of the cliff. The very early warning signs of indigestion, tightness, squeezing, discomfort. Notice it's not pain back here on the safe path. As you come closer to the edge of the cliff, there becomes denial, delay. You refuse to recognize and respond to the symptoms, getting you closer and closer until that chest discomfort becomes chest pain. And then you're right on the brink of toppling over this cliff into damage of your heart or death. If we can recognize the early warning signs where the road is wide and far from the edge, look at how many people we can save, how many lives we can save. There are several other handouts in this brochure that you also may use. The value of early cardiac care versus late cardiac care. Anything that you feel will get your point across, put together and hand out. Or you may feel free to Xerox and use the material that we are sending to you. One of the last little slips that I like is written out in black and white what the early warning signs are. Again, discomfort that comes on with activity and goes away with rest. Stuttering, pressure. We pressure you not to ignore chest pressure. This is a nice little folder to just kind of fold up and put in your wallet. And then when someone's really denying that's a problem, you can whip this out and say, here, in black and white. It describes exactly what you're saying to me. I'm an early cardiac caregiver. It may be indigestion, but it also may be your heart. Let's get it checked out. Let's be safe. Won't you be relieved if it isn't your heart? And finally, here is the 3-question test that's included in the kit. It's very simplistic, very easy to take. How you deliver this test, again, is up to your style. You can have the group talk the test through and answer as a group, or you can have them take the test and then you provide the answers, whichever way works for you. Now that you have educated your students, it is time to complete the 4th step by taking the early cardiac caregiver's oath. The pledge that you are about to take is motivation by ritual. You've not taken many pledges in your life, maybe when you were married or when you were a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout, but not many pledges. In any case, people who take a pledge take it very seriously, as they should. And I would like you to take this pledge, this oath, very seriously. Please stand up now and raise your right hand. Come on now, everybody up out there in the audience, and raise your right hand. I would like you now to repeat after me. I hereby solemnly swear that when a person in my presence is experiencing the early warning signs of a heart attack, I will do everything in my power to get that person to the nearest hospital emergency room to have those symptoms checked out. I, as the Sheriff of Early Cardiac Care, do now duly deputize you as an early cardiac caregiver. I would like you now to wear your star proudly, to spread the word. You are now part of the army of early cardiac caregivers against the war of heart disease and death. With your help, we can reduce heart disease from #1 killer of the adult population in the United States.
This concludes our teleconference on early cardiac care. A tremendous amount of information has been shared with you this afternoon. By now, most viewers are wondering, what are my next steps? Where do I go from here? Community colleges are natural providers of early cardiac care education for a number of reasons. Heart attack is a community problem. Think of your neighbors. Heart and blood vessel disease kills 1 out of every 2 individuals. Instruction is most effective at the community level. Grassroots education touches greater numbers of individuals in an intensive manner. Community colleges are a network for community service and education. Community residents depend on their local community colleges for up-to-date guidance on health issues. What are your next steps in developing an early cardiac care program on your campus? You, the community college educator, can provide leadership for beginning early cardiac caregiver training in your community today. As a result of this conference, you have been deputized as an early cardiac caregiver. Become a trainer. Share your knowledge by teaching people in the schools, agencies, civic organizations, and businesses in your service area to be early cardiac care deputies also. For your free early cardiac care instructors kit, simply write to Coronary Care System, St.Agnes Hospital, 900 Caton Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21229. In addition, a hotline has been set up for your questions. Please feel free to call the Coronary Care System at St.Agnes Hospital anytime by phoning 301-368-3200. We thank you for your participation in today's program, and we applaud your enthusiasm to get involved in battling this critical health issue. Remember, heart attack is a community problem, and the community college, and the community hospital working together is the solution. Before you leave your conference site today, please complete the teleconference evaluation. Evaluation forms are available from the teleconference coordinator at your site. Thank you.